it's Sophie, and today I'm going to talk to you about my January wrap-up. And it's a bit late, but I had a few things happening the first week of February, and I just now have the opportunity to film this video. Now, I'm very happy about January because I managed to read 6 books, and they were 6 really cool books, so I'm just very pleased with myself for that. The first book I read is called Waking Up in Heaven by McVea and Tresniowski. Sorry if I butchered that. This is the story of Crystal and her experience dying in the hospital and waking up in heaven. We see flashbacks of her childhood, her past, in which a lot of terrible things happened to her. They've affected her life. She had bad things happen to her as a child, which bled into her adulthood. So she had a very difficult time, and this experience, waking up in heaven, really gave her some sort of peace, really allowed her to make sense of all that, and in the end, that experience, coupled with all the things that she went through in the past, helped her to help others. You have to approach this book with a lot of faith, but it is a worthwhile read. I really recommend it. There's very strong messages in this book, and it was just a joy to read for me. The second book I read is called Smaller, Smaller Circles by BATACAN, who is a writer from the Philippines. The story takes place in the Philippines in the late 1990s. Now, this is a mystery book, but the author also wanted to show through this book a bit of the social situation in the Philippines, especially in the 90s, where police resources were lacking, they had no manpower. Also, the poor were they weren't a priority for them, not necessarily because it didn't matter, but because of the lack of resources I mentioned before. And well, this book sort of tries to show all that. The story starts off with the murder of a child. It's a very gruesome murder, but while the police are trying to solve this murder, they realize that there have been very similar murders in the past. The main characters in this book are 2 Jesuit priests, Father Gus Science and Father Jerome Lucero. Father Science is a forensic anthropologist, which is not common at the time, and Father Jerome, or Father Lucero, is a psychiatrist. Because Father Science is one of the few anthropologists and has also worked with the police beforehand, the director of the bureau goes straight to him to ask for help. This is very interesting because this outside interference causes a bit of tension in the bureau. Father Science and Lucero do have friends inside the bureau because, as I mentioned, they have worked there before, but they also have a few enemies that they have to deal with. I found this book very interesting for a lot of reasons. First, the characters. I was very intrigued that the main characters were priests. I had a Father Brown kind of vibe to it, so I was really glad to read it. Also, the cultural aspect is very, very interesting. I keep repeating that word, interesting, but it really is. You get a look at the Philippines in the late 1990s. There is a lot of poverty, and one of the things that stuck with me was that the children that work in the trash dump sites are the ones that work there because the piles of trash are so big and just the place is so large and vast that the mountains of trash, they cannot handle the weight of an adult. So while there are a lot of children that go there to scavenge for food or for things they can use or things they can salvage and sell, they're the only ones that can reach the top of the piles, and because the piles can handle their weight. So I thought that was kind of shocking, kind of sad, and just very tragic. The third book I read is called Soundless by RICHELLE MEAD. The story takes place in a Chinese village which is stuck at the top of a mountain, and the very characteristic thing about this village is that everyone there is dead. They're a mining village, but they also have artists, and the thing is that they don't have access to any form of getting down the mountain, so they don't have any place to grow crops. So basically they rely on a town that's at the bottom of the mountain who sends food up and supplies via a zip line, and they send down all the minerals and metals and things they find in the mines that they have in their village. The problem is that suddenly some of the villagers start to go blind. Now this is a problem because without hearing, in a village of people that don't hear, you can communicate by pictures, so they have a group of artists, by sign language, you know, so they're okay. They don't know any different. But when they start going blind, then they have no method of communication, and because their village depends on the supplies that they receive in return for the metals that they find, it's not exactly like they have an abundance of food. So if you can't work, you don't eat. And the people that go blind, they can't work neither in the mines or as an artist. So they are kept as beggars. Now, because everybody's going blind, the main character, Faye, decides to leave the village in search for answers. Why are they going blind? And to find a cure and just some way to help her village. And to help especially her sister, who is going blind and the one that actually prompted her to want to go and find an answer. This was a very interesting read. I really liked it. The book is based on Chinese folklore, so that was very interesting. I thought the imagery that the book prompted in one, it was very, very just artistic. I could imagine like Kung Fu Panda, kind of the mountains in the sky and the clouds surrounding them, the villages. It was very, very, very nice. The next 3 books I read is part of a trilogy. This is the ANGELFALL trilogy. The 3 books are called ANGELFALL, World After, and End of Days. I read this trilogy because first they were really cheap on Kindle, and I saw a lot of my favorite booktubers talking about it, and I was really, really surprised by this trilogy. It's not a trilogy that I hear everybody talking about or that I see in stores, but it's really good. I really liked it. The story is about an apocalypse that is actually caused by angels. And these are not the nice angels that we know, but like very angry and wrathful angels that come down to Earth destroying it. They cause tsunamis, fires, outright killing people. And in the midst of this, there's this family, or the remains of this family, which are the main character, Penrin. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name right. Penrin Young, her young sister Paige, who is paralyzed, and her mother, who is schizophrenic. Now, because of Survivor humanity is not acting very civilized, there are gangs and you have to be careful and you can't trust people. So the small family is stuck together and they're trying to leave a city and find maybe a more isolated place to live. But before they can do that, unfortunately, they come across this group of angels that are infighting. And this is just a very strange situation because they've never really seen an angel up close, only on TV as they attacked, etc. And in the midst of this, one of the angels cuts the wings off of another angel. Now, while all of this is happening, one of the angels, to spite Penrin, kidnaps her baby sister, who is paralyzed, so it's like a terrible image. And Penrin has no other choice but to ally herself with her worst enemy, this angel called Raffi, who has just lost his wings. Now, the deal is that she will help him get his wings back if he helps her to go into the angel fort, where she suspects her sister is being kept, hopefully very alive. The 3 books are really great. The level of sass in it is incredible. The characters are all really interesting. They're all unique. Like I said, her mother's schizophrenic, but she's just incredible. She's a badass. We have other characters who I won't talk about because it's a bit spoilery, but they were all incredible. I loved them. I really recommend this trilogy because I really liked Penrin, the main protagonist. Unlike in other books, I felt like she was, I don't know, she had a lot of common sense. She trusted her instincts. She just didn't wallow in sadness or grief. That she had moments, but she kicked herself, said, get over it, get up, do this, and then you can, break down. But until she did the things she had to do, she would not let herself, okay, let's rest and have a cry. And I really liked that about her. she was focused, she was intelligent all the time, which is something that in other books the protagonists have not done, and which really annoyed me. So I really liked her. And the last book I read is called Monster Calls by NESS. I've been wanting to get my hands on this book for a long time, and just casually browsing a bookstore, I found it hidden. So it was this. The book is about this kid called Connor, whose mom is very sick, and the boy has a lot of nightmares, very scary nightmares. Yeah, because there are nightmares that aren't scary. Well, his house looks out to a hill, and on top of the hill there's this yew tree. And one night, while he can't sleep because of his mom, he's worried about her, and because the nightmares, he doesn't want to have those nightmares, but he sees that the tree comes alive, and he is convinced that, okay, this is the monster that's coming for me. And it's funny because he gets so disappointed that it actually is not the monster of his nightmares. And the yew tree is also kind of confused because he is a real life monster, but this kid Connor is not scared of him because he's the wrong monster. Now the monster comes for Connor, but he comes to tell him 3 stories, and Connor in return is going to have to tell him a 4th story, which according to him is the truth. What that is, we don't know, and well, the book is very emotional. It's kind of a roller coaster ride, as you see what is happening to Connor, what is happening to his mom, how that affects everything. So it's very enjoyable, but at the same time, it's a bit just sad. It's a sad book. It's a sad book, but I think that it also has a lesson that we have to learn. So that's it for my January book wrap. Once again, sorry that it's a bit late, but well, life. I'm really trying to post videos at least once a week, but since I suck at making videos and editing takes a long time and uploading takes a long time, and with work and life, it's a bit difficult, so please be patient with me. Liking and subscribing would help me a lot, so please go do that if you like this video. Also leave me down in the comment section what were your favorite books of January, or what books do you recommend to me. You know, I really love getting book recommendations, so you know, if you have one, down below.